That said, there may be a bit of hopeful news today for those of you who believe in justice and fairness in this country. The new chair of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman Darrell Issa, has issued his first subpoena. It orders Bank of America to hand over documents about a now defunct home loan program called Countrywide VIP. The committee investigating whether Countrywide used sweetheart mortgages in order to buy key friends, maybe a bank regulator, maybe the chair of the Senate Banking Committee, people in the government with power getting special deals on financing for luxury homes. Kind of sounds like Bahrain, right? Not really, but joining us now in his first interview since issuing his first subpoena, Republican Congressman from Florida, Darrell Issa, and Congressman, California, sorry. It's a pleasure to see you. Very quickly, what are you looking for with this first subpoena?
Well, Dylan, what we're looking for with the first subpoena is to continue something I started on a bipartisan basis with Chairman Towns, and that is we see that the Friends of Angelo, as it was also called after Angelo Mazzillo, VIP program, clearly wanted to curry favor with people that could help them dump these subprime loans, these sub-S loans, onto the American people. It's cost us directly $150+ billion, but as you said, it's cost the American people trillions of dollars. In no small part, the fact that these toxic loans were around, they'd been packaged and repackaged, and that Freddie and Fannie had taken most of them onto their books, that represents the primary ultimate failure of the mortgage market. And at the center of it all was inaction by the regulators, inaction by members of Congress and their staffs, House and Senate, for many years.
Two names that jump out on that Countrywide VIP list that are already disclosed. One, Chris Dodd, who not only was responsible for the supervision of what I view as the false reform of the banking business under the Obama administration, but was also very influential prior to this reform. Also, Kent Conrad, who's on the Budget Committee. How far do you think you can go in terms of crime and punishment with those two men?
Well, I think we have to go further, and we have to include Senator Bennett's staff that were named in no small amount. But it also goes to over 150 people at Freddie and Fannie. What we're doing is we're following it from government, where we believe the distortion occurred, back to its source, which in this case was a apparently legal bribing system, because the Department of Justice has not pursued this. We believe we have to pursue the fact that we cannot have people in and around government getting these kinds of special deals and then the outflow of it be on the backs of the American taxpayer. And that's exactly what happened. We hope that in the future this will be illegal. We hope in the future it'll be ruled unethical. But we've got to find a way to disclose it all and then get the American people outraged enough to make sure that it never happens again.
Going beyond Countrywide, and I'm sure have you had a chance to read through the FCIC report? Perhaps you've seen Charles Ferguson's movie Inside Job or read Michael Lewis's book The Big Short. There's a lot of journalism now at this point that really gets into the granular detail of exactly how all this was happening. And what's apparent when you digest all of it is that fraud, really accounting fraud of some kind, is at the root of this, whether it's the banks misrepresenting the value of their assets, whether we don't have to go through all the different ways that gets done. But it's a long way of my setting up the following question. In the
by the way, thank you for mentioning the accounting scandal at Freddie Mac, because that also is part of the, if you can claim you're making a profit on these bad loans, pretty soon people don't look anymore.
Right. Well, but you and I both know it's not just at Freddie Mac. It's at Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs. You have every major bank in America pretending that their second liens, that those home equity lines are worth 80 or 90 cents on the dollar, when it's unclear they're going to recover the first mortgage, and they're carrying that accounting representation as a way to take risk today. They're bonusing themselves today, record bonuses this year on Wall Street with that misrepresentation. But I want to go to something that's distinctly factual and already disclosed from the FCIC report, and it is this. A company by the name of Clayton Holdings, which is referred to in the FCIC report. It was an auditing firm, looked at mortgages and whether, in fact, they were conforming, qualified, coming out of places like Countrywide, and whether they were illegal to be sold to American pensions, to be sold to Fannie, to be sold to Freddie, to be sold into the Federal Reserve. Here's what they found. Of the 900,000 mortgages they dipstick tested, 28% of them were flawed, meaning non-conforming. 11% of them were sold. Most importantly, were sold without, this is according to the FCIC, were sold without informing the buyer, whether that's the pension funds in states like Wisconsin and elsewhere, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and there has not been a single prosecution, a single indictment, not a single arrest. Meanwhile, billions of dollars in American judges' retirement, teachers' retirement, cops' retirement dollars sold without disclosure for known fraudulent investments from Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. Do you intend to look into the obvious fraud that's already been disclosed by the FCIC?
Dylan, we plan on following the trail to all the corruption that is out there. One of the important things that Speaker Boehner has said is that every committee, including the Financial Services Committee, must do oversight, and they're all beefing up for it. But ours is the primary committee to go after this. We intend on going after it because, as you said, the American people are still on the hook. Obviously, AIG, who you mentioned, they put their AAA wrapper around a lot of these, insuring them, and that's the reason that some of these pensions took them on, is they said, well, they're fully insured, therefore they become AAA. But now that we know they're not, now that we know they're on the books, now that we know that the profits that these pensions were scoring aren't in fact going to happen, we also know that we have all kinds of states whose retirement programs are basically insolvent.
And how is it, if you look at who's punished here, the poorest people in America and the municipalities in America are getting annihilated on the budget front. Meanwhile, bonuses are at a record on Wall Street. The banks are the biggest they have ever been, and we don't have a single prosecution. I just want to reiterate my question. I'll let you go. Are you going to be able, or is somebody going to be able, to specifically look into the Clayton Holdings reference in the FCIC report of the sale, of the knowing sale of fraudulent mortgages to American retirees?
We expect to be able to do it under our jurisdiction. We expect to be able to, where we find them, make referrals to justice, and we expect that you'll stay on top of it so that justice feels the heat if they're not willing to pursue these.
Yeah, listen, please keep us posted. People say you're on a witch hunt, Congressman. I say if you're hunting witches, more power to you. So all the best.
We're hunting the bad guys, Dylan.
Yeah, listen, as long as what you're hunting is an actual witch, I'm with you. Thank you, Congressman Issa, joining us.